Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in. This is our post-Inspire video series with the aim of equipping you for the next step. You came to Inspire, you encounter Jesus, He unearthed some things in your life, and now maybe you're wondering, okay, what do I do with this? What's the next step? In the next few weeks here, we're going to release some videos where you hear, again, personal stories and testimonies that will give you the inspiration and the motivation and the tools that you need to go further with the Lord. Thank you for tuning in. Nate, thanks for joining me today. You have been with YWAM, you said, for 13 years.
13 years.
2006. You joined us. Give us a quick snapshot, bro. What motivated you to do a discipleship training school to be a part of this thing?
Well, I think one of the things was my parents were actually in YWAM, and they had encouraged me to do YWAM, and for a long time I didn't really want to be part of that, but as I got closer to graduating, I just realized I wanted to spend a little bit of my time before I just jumped into college or pursuing a career to really taking time with the Lord and hearing from Him what He wanted me to do.
Wow, sort of a prep time for you the rest of your life.
So it was a prep time, and boy was it ever.
Yeah.
It was a huge prep time.
Well, you anticipated it 5 months.
Yes.
And now it's 13 years later.
13 years later, yeah.
Wow.
What ended up happening, I came just thinking 5 months, I'm going to do something for Jesus, and then I'm going to go back and do whatever. And God ended up radically changing my life. I didn't know that I needed to be radically changed, but during my DTS, He radically encountered me. I was a pastor's kid, a missionary kid growing up, so I thought, man, I have this all figured out. I'm a great Christian.
Wow. Yeah.
Figured out real quickly that I wasn't, and how desperately I needed Jesus. My life ended up getting radically changed. It's a long story, but it pretty much was just a thing where I just surrendered my life to Jesus, and I said, Jesus, whatever you want me to do, I want to do it. And I want to serve you wherever it might be. I just want to give my life to you to bring you joy. And I just felt like the next thing that He asked me to do was, I want you to serve YWAM Tyler. And here I am. I'm still here serving Him by serving YWAM Tyler.
Serving someone else.
Yeah.
Speak into that a little bit, because that's essential. You guys came to Inspire. You've witnessed Jesus. You encountered Jesus. He unearthed some things in your life. And we hear this sometimes in our circles. Sort of the importance. Jesus talks about this. He even said about Himself, I'm not here to be served, but to serve.
Yeah.
And so sometimes in Christian circles there's, okay, our job as believers is to serve others.
Yeah.
Now, speaking to this a little bit, Nate, I know we've worked together. You're such a servant heart. I mean, you're like somebody really to look up to in that arena, for sure. But speak into that for people who trying to figure out how to walk out this life now on earth before Jesus.
Yeah.
Where's the fine line between serving others and stewarding the things that God placed in you? How do you do it?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that's always just been key to me is before I'm serving a particular ministry or doing a particular job or serving particular people, I think the number one thing that has been super crucial to me is that, number one, I'm serving Jesus.
Wow.
And that He is the focus. And so when I joined YWAM, it wasn't because I was, I love YWAM, but it wasn't because YWAM was the end all or because I loved it, but because I was in love with Jesus, and I said, Jesus, where do you want me to serve? And really what he asked me to do is, I want you to serve YWAM Tyler. And so then I said, okay, I'm coming to serve YWAM Tyler. And then I specifically felt like He asked me, I want you to serve this particular leader. And I said, okay, Jesus, I'm going to go and do this for you. And so it was a thing of number one, that we're serving Jesus, and we're not just primarily serving people.
Wow,
I think
that's huge.
Sometimes when we focus on serving people, it's easy to be derailed because there's so much human need out there. And then even if we're trying to get our affirmation, if the people that we're serving, whether it's a leader or just people that we're taking care of, if they are not responding in a way that we think they should or that we like, we get discouraged.
Disappointed, disillusioned.
Yeah.
What am I doing with my life type of thing at the end of the day. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. So I think that has been critical, is making sure that, number one, I'm serving Jesus.
Wow.
And then being obedient to serve the people that He's called me to serve.
How do you renew that? How do you renew that priority in your life? Like especially when you hit opposition and disappointment, people disappoint you, How do you renew that priority? Hey, I'm here to serve Jesus really at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, I think it's, I think you have to be, it's learning to be self-aware, because I think when you are starting to really get resentful, you're starting to get super frustrated and annoyed, which, you know, it happens in ministry. It happens in ministry. You know, we're people too. Yeah. And, you know, I think you just have to be self-aware, and then, you know, I've caught myself, man, why am I so frustrated? Why am I getting so annoyed? Why am I just ready to throw in the towel? And then it's in that moment, okay, God help me identify. And then it's like, you're upset because you're trying to serve either yourself, or you're trying to serve, you know, a person and trying to get the affirmation from them.
So sort of you press pause, and zoom out, and try to analyze the situation. That's a skill.
Yeah.
But we can learn that.
Right.
To not be sort of given into our emotions, but learn that, okay, hold on a second, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling?
Right.
And then readjust.
Yeah, I think it's super important to be aware of what you're paying attention to how you're feeling. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a little, you know, we do checkups every once in a while, go to the doctor and stuff like that. But I think for us, it's important. Okay, give a self checkup.
Wow,
how am I doing? What am I focusing on? Yeah, so I think that's been important to me. It's just, how am I doing? Why am I feeling the way that I am? Mm-hmm. And then from that, realigning myself with truth. And
going back to Jesus.
Going back to Jesus. That's been crucial in my ministry, my walk with the Lord, and you know what I do here at YWAM Tyler.
Yeah. So, well, thank you, Nate, so much for your input here. I mean, this has been heavy. It's been huge, because we deal with this kind of stuff. Even when you are so convinced about the things that you're called to, you encounter opposition and disappointment and rejection even. But then to remind yourself of that at the end of the day, I'm here because of Jesus. And do that on a regular basis, and everything will be fine. Bless you guys.